Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're getting into the head of João Adibe. He's the billionaire CEO behind the Brazilian pharma giant Cimed, and we're going to break down the sales philosophy that turned his company into an absolute powerhouse.
So let's just start with this one idea from Adibe, because it flips everything you think about marketing completely upside down. He says a promotion's real job isn't to get the customer to buy more stuff. No, it's to give the retailer a powerful reason to sell more of your stuff. It's about turning that store owner into your best salesperson.
And that single idea becomes the engine for his whole company. At Cimed, everyone, and I mean everyone, from finance to legal to logistics, is trained to think about sales. It's this concept he calls a vendedor raiz, which basically means a grassroots salesperson. Everyone's job is to clear the path for a sale.
So, in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 core principles that made him so successful. We'll look at the sales-driven company, his build, don't destroy strategy, the power of what he calls nostalgia, why you have to sell to your own team first, and finally, the story of his ultimate pitch.
All right, first up, let's dig into the absolute foundation of his strategy, building a company culture that is just completely 100% obsessed with selling.
Adibe's logic here is, well, it's brutally simple. Your sales team can't win if they're fighting a war on 2 fronts, one against the competition and another against their own company, right? A slow contract approval from the legal team can kill a deal just as dead as a competitor's discount, so every single department has to see itself as part of the sales team, no exceptions.
Okay, so once that internal sales machine is humming along, Adibe turns his attention to the market. And this brings us to his first big principle for the outside world. Focus on building something new, not just destroying what's already there.
And he makes this really crucial distinction. Destroying the shelf is the easy way out. You launch a cheap knockoff, you start a price war, and suddenly everyone's profits are in a race to the bottom. Building the shelf, on the other hand, is about being smart. It's about finding a gap nobody else sees and creating a whole new opportunity that makes the entire category more valuable for everybody.
So, that all sounds good in theory, right? But how did he actually use this idea to go up against the giants in the super crowded baby products market?
He did it with the João Maria baby line. See, he didn't just make a cheaper diaper. He noticed the huge multinational brands didn't really get the local culture. So he picked a name, John and Mary, that's in pretty much every family in Brazil. And here's the brilliant part. He designed the brand to grow with the child, so he wasn't just stuck selling to babies like all his competitors were. He built a story around it.
And this quote just says it all. For Adibe, a product without a story is just an object. It's a commodity. You can't just talk about features. You have to lead with the narrative, because that's what connects with people. The story is what sells, long before anyone even looks at the price tag. And that focus on storytelling leads us right into his next big idea, a concept he calls nostalgia. It's all about how he mixes the past with the present to create these absolutely unforgettable campaigns.
Yeah, he actually made up that word, nostalgia, and it's basically his secret weapon. He takes these powerful, nostalgic ideas that everyone remembers and loves, and he reboots them with modern technology. The result is something that connects with parents who remember the original, and with their kids who are seeing it for the first time.
And this campaign is the perfect example. He brought back a famous truck giveaway from an old TV show. 15 years ago, you had to physically mail in letters and wait weeks for a drawing. In his nostalgia version, families still gather for the show, but now they just scan a QR code on their receipt to enter. And they can win instant prizes every single hour. He kept the warm, fuzzy feeling, but gave it a 21st century upgrade.
But Adibe is quick to warn you, a cool idea like nostalgia is totally useless if you don't nail the fundamentals. He calls it the tripod. You need a great product, perfect execution at the store, and a killer promotion. If any one of those 3 legs is weak, like if the product isn't even on the shelf when the ad runs, the whole thing just falls apart.
Okay, so before a single product hits the shelf, before any ad airs, Adibe says you have to make a much, much more important sale. And that's the one that happens inside your own company.
I mean, his philosophy on this couldn't be more direct. If your own team isn't genuinely fired up about what you're selling, how in the world can you expect your customers to be? That excitement, or the lack of it, is totally contagious. And this isn't just some nice idea for him. He actually built a ritual around it. It's called João Convoca, which means João summons. Every Friday, before a big TV ad airs on Sunday, he gets all the company leaders together. He shows them the ad first, gets them hyped, and make sure everyone is on the same page. So by the time it goes public, it's not his campaign, it's our campaign.
And his dedication to this is just incredible. For one launch, he personally recorded 500 unique, personalized videos for his pharmacy partners. He called them out by name. He wasn't just telling them about the campaign, he was turning them into true believers before a single customer saw anything.
So we have this whole system, right? A sales-obsessed culture, building the shelf, nostalgia, selling internally, but how did all of it hold up during the single biggest sales pitch of his entire life?
Well, when he decided to sell a stake in Cimed to a massive global investment fund, it wasn't a snap decision. It was a 4-year plan. He started showing up at finance events, acting like a public company, and building credibility long before he ever even asked for money.
But even after all that prep, when it came down to the final meeting with these super sophisticated investors, what did it take to get them to sign on the dotted line?
And this is where it all comes together. He's in the boardroom, and he has this realization. The investors get the numbers, but they don't feel the business. He famously said, PowerPoint accepts anything, meaning you can make a slide deck say whatever you want. So he just threw out the presentation and said, let's go to the street.
And he meant it literally. He took these investors out of the stuffy boardroom and right into the chaos of busy pharmacies. He wanted them to meet his customers, to see his products flying off the shelves, to feel the energy of his team. He didn't just tell them his story, he let them live it. He proved his philosophy wasn't just a theory on a slide, it was real.
And that really leaves us with one powerful question to think about. If you stepped out from behind your own PowerPoint, what's the real story your business is telling out there in the world? Because as João Adibe proved, that's the only story, the only pitch that truly matters. Thanks for joining us.